Amen. Think about your father. You got him pictured? What is their quintessential dad outfit? What does it involve? Yes. Camo pants. Okay, you got a weird dad. Scared of hunting. It's cold. You have to wake up early. You got to touch dead things. It stinks. I hate it. But these are sweet. Okay, they're Dockers. It's not even like they're real. Someone over here had their hand up. Suspenders. Quintessential dad outfit. Yes. Oh, wow. She said a couple of different camos in the same. It's almost like wearing stripes with camo. You know what I mean? It's like, eesh. That guy fell into his dresser and just, it's like, okay, whatever. It's Father's Day. Okay. Who else? Quintessential dad outfit. Yes. Ostrich cowboy boots. Ooh. Those are good. Yes. Carhartts. Yeah. Cargo shorts. Yes. With something in every pocket. I mean, why let it waste? We'll put some napkins in there. Always got napkins. Yes. Gold chain and good shoes. Ooh, I got to meet your dad. That's good. Yes. That was supposed to be your answer. Good grief. What'd you say? Oh, Crocs. She's calling them out. Crocs. Yes. T-shirt and gym shorts. At weddings is really what you're after. One more. Yes.
The clumpiest, largest black generic tennis shoes.
Oh, yeah.
That you can find.
Yeah.
Every day for everything.
Okay, yeah. Athletic moon boots for you. Okay, I got some good pictures. This guy's trying here, but yeah. So we've got a fanny pack there. Yep, that's good. Oh, okay, wait. Go back to the first one. What's up with the hands? Is this? Okay, next one. Still there. You see that? Look how tall I am. Look how tall I can reach. I love this, like, honey, if we're out in the woods and there's a bear, I don't want him to steal my bag. I'm going to cinch that puppy up. Very good. That's a good look. Okay, what else we have? Yep, always prepared. Dads are prepared. Need sunglasses? Flip them down. Good to go. I like this one. He dressed just like his dad. That's good. And then I think, is that it? That's it. All right, dads. So last year, I had a little bit of brush to burn off at the house. And we live in the city, we got neighbors and everything. But I thought, as long as I pile it in one of those little metal, like backyard fireplace things, as long as it's in there, we're good. And so I did it. And there's a difference between burning like dry sticks and burning weeds that you cut off 10 minutes ago. There's a thing called vapors, like smoke, like kill you kind of stuff. And I'm sending smoke signals to the space station with this thing. Not a whole lot of fire yet, but just lots of smoke. And I hear fire trucks. I'm just like, don't think about it, I hear fire trucks all the time. And they keep getting closer and closer. And then, you guys know what I mean, you hear them from this side, and then you start hearing from that side, and both of them are getting closer. You're like, oh, yeah, I won today. The fire department shows up, and, just before they got there, I put it out with the hose, because just like, I just want to look chill. Just like, hey, what's up, officer? It's like, we've been chasing your smoke for miles. Like, what? What smoke? Shh. So these guys show up in their little costumes. They've got their, like, hard hat, you see. But they wear them backwards, so the bill is in the back, if you've noticed. They got these little costumes on. And they've got, like, this. Yeah, it's Jared again. They got that thing on their chest. And they've got flashlights everywhere in said cargo shorts, pants. and they've all got the same costume on, all of them, except for the guy who rolls in the SUV. The guy who rolls in the SUV with the shield on the side of it, he doesn't have any of this costume on. He's just got like a polo shirt with like a little like badge here. And he's the most relaxed of them all. I'm like, that's the guy you should have sent. Send the guy in the SUV because there's nothing to see here. But they came in and they had that going on. It reminded me of a time when I was a young guy, and my mom made me a football uniform. She made me this football uniform. Everyone else was wearing their uniforms all on the same day, chasing candy. It was amazing. And I wanted to be a football player. And back in my day, you don't buy these sorts of things. You make these sorts of things. So my mother found, it's the 80s, my mother found a towel and some pantyhose. And she stuffed the towel and the pantyhose and draped that over my shoulders. And then she took a milk jug and she cut half of it off and she put it on my head with my numbered uniform over it. And she took mascara and rubbed it under my eyes. And there I was. I had my football uniform ready to go. What's wrong with my sermon thus far? You're like, let's start at the camo pants. We're going to skip over the camo pants. What is wrong with my sermon thus far? Not you. Time out. I got to interrupt myself. Sometimes at Young Nation, I've got these lists on my phone of sermons someday I want to tell. And so some nights I just pull it out and I give them 4 ideas and they pick a sermon. So it's like choose your own adventure sermoning. And this was one a while ago when I was still thinking about it that I preached to them. So I'm not answering any of the hands. Okay, so what's wrong with the sermon thus far? What's wrong with the sermon thus far? What'd you say? Okay, it's not a Father's Day sermon. I like it. What? What aren't costumes? Okay, so the firefighters, you got a problem with me calling them costumes. Anyone else got any other problems with the sermon thus far? You guys are like, why doesn't he do this every week? I would love him to do this every week. Because I have insecurities, okay? What else is wrong? No clue where you're going. That's every week, okay? Keep going. 3, you don't have 3 main points. Okay. I'll tell you what's wrong with the sermon thus far, asking you guys for any input. Let's go back to the angel. Please, just give me the, okay, I'll pay you. That's right. So what's wrong with the sermon thus far is that I'm calling the fire department's outfit a costume. And I'm calling my football outfit a uniform. Everyone with me now? Why is this problematic? Why is this problematic? Yes. Okay, it's disrespectful. Why would it be disrespectful? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's disrespectful to firefighters to call their outfits costumes. That's what you just said. Yes. Wow. Wow. What she's saying is the uniform is almost like a physical representation of all the hard work they did to earn the right to wear the uniform. Everyone with me? In a similar fashion, it's disrespectful to football players for me to call mine a uniform. Because I put no time into training myself, getting on a team, being coached, being a team player. I just dressed up and posed like I was a football player. And when you're not the actual thing, but you put the thing on, that is called a costume. So, my whole point this morning is this. Outfits are determined to be uniforms or costumes based on who is in them. That's the difference between a costume and a uniform. Those guys could have pulled off their firefighting uniforms. I could have put it on, and all of us would have said, Jared's wearing a firefighter costume. Because you know that the person in it is not actually the thing that it is presenting. Who's with me? You guys with me today? Costumes and uniforms. So I've entitled this little thing, Outfits. Outfits, all right? And so I want to talk to you a little bit about this. I want to show you something scripturally that I think is going to help you. This is a quick little message for those who feel like there are situations where you don't quite fit in. You think to yourself, I don't know if I feel at home in this situation. I just feel like everyone else is definitely more comfortable calling themselves this or doing this, and I've kind of, you might call it imposter syndrome. Has anyone ever had something that you would describe as imposter syndrome? You're in a Bible study and you're like, wow, they're all like really, really good Christians, and I just own a Bible. Anyone felt this way before? You ever been on a team where you're like, clearly I'm the weakest link? That guy passes better than me, that lady shoots better than me, this sort of thing. Imposter kind of syndrome. I want to speak to these sorts of people. And maybe it's professionally. Maybe you think to yourself, I'm in here, but I've really just kind of scooted in. Everyone else around me, it seems like they've paid their dues and they've done their thing, but I'm just kind of like here. Maybe you felt that professionally. You feel like you're on a team of people who are much better than you. Or maybe it's relationally. There are people, there are fathers who become fathers and feel like they're missing out on what it feels like to be a father for some years. They go, I have a child, but I don't feel like a father. And if we were being honest today, some of us would raise our hands and we would say, now that you bring it up, Jared, sometimes I feel this sort of reality within relationships. Someone goes, you're my best friend. You're like, man, I feel like I am not a very good friend. Hey, you are a husband, a wife, a father, a best friend, whatever the analogy or whatever the situation is. Many of us deal with these moments where we go, I don't know if I feel like I'm actually that thing, and I might be in this place, but as soon as they kind of like figure out that I don't have the credentials, I haven't done the work, then, my values determine on that and things like that. I also want to speak to those primarily today who feel this way spiritually. It's really, I can't get into it today, but there is a big cultural conversation on what it feels like to be all sorts of things. And so it seems like we have nominated ourselves as the experts on what it feels like to be something because we say things like, I just don't feel like. And that means, some of you guys are like, you lost me. What am I saying? None of us, I don't know what it feels like to be a dad. I don't know if you ordered dad feelings on Amazon and it came to your door. I don't know what would be in that box. All I know is that I am a dad and I have feelings. Ladies, you ever talk to other ladies, and they're like, oh my goodness, the first 2 months of having a baby, I just love it. It is so amazing. And you're like, in a sense, they have ordered mom feelings from Amazon, and they open up the box. And you go, nope, definitely did not feel that in those first 2 months. And if you have that mentality that there is something called mom feelings right there, that is even definable is a lie. Because if you didn't enjoy the first 2 months of your children, guess what? You're still feeling like a mom. Is this making sense? So I want to dive into this a little bit spiritually. Because some of us are like, I don't know, everyone else ordered Christian feelings from Amazon, and the box arrived, and they all know that it feels like that. But I'm the one over here going, I've never felt all that stuff, therefore I must not be. You guys with me? So I want to talk to you a little bit about that, and I want to open up to one scripture today, Ephesians 4. So please, let's applaud our God for giving us this book. We open our Bibles to Ephesians 4. It's really important. If you stick with me, I think this is one of those marinating messages that's like, okay, that was fun in those 35 minutes, but it's going to work on you going forward, and I truly believe that. So Ephesians 4, we'll start at 17. All right, so the apostle here is talking to this church in Ephesus, and he's prayed for them. He's talked about them somehow working through their family dynamics to love each other well and to be humble and to prefer one another. He's about to go into a whole bunch of stuff about how the family's going to look and how children and parents look in chapter 6. But right here, he's zeroing in on children of the light. Children of the light. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What is it like? And it's going to come together, and I hope it's a moment for you like it was for me. Starting at 17. So I tell you this, and I insist on it in the Lord, that you must no longer live as Gentiles do, in the futility of their thinking. They're darkened in their understanding and separated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them due to the hardening of their hearts. Did you know that your actions can actually give you a heart condition? Your actions, in the physical, your actions can give you a heart condition. But even in the spiritual, your actions can give you a heart condition. If you continue to behave in a way that God says, hey, don't do that, it will actually make it harder for you to hear from God. If you continue to do those things, it'll actually make it harder for you to feel any conviction about that thing. It'll make it harder for you to have sweet times with God, all right? This is what he's talking about. They're darkened in their understanding, and they're separated from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them due to the hardening of their hearts. Having lost all sensitivity. This is a great word. Just pay attention to any of the words here that are going to use the word sense, okay? Taste, smell, feel, etc. How we get information from the world. Having lost all sensitivity, they have given themselves over to sensuality, so as to indulge in every impurity with continual lust for more. What's he saying? He's saying, this is who you used to be, and this is some people around us. They have so elevated the worship of feeling that it would be described that they are sensual. They've given themselves over to sensuality. Are there any people that you have met who have given their lives over to feeling high? What is that? Worship of feelings. Or drunk. Or powerful. Or violent. Or argumentative. The feeling of that's sensuality. I love the feeling of putting people in their place. That's why I'm angry and I'm sinfully violent. The feeling of being high, the feeling of being drunk, the feeling, all sexual lust, all these kind of things. I've elevated these feelings, and they say they have to keep going deeper because they have lost their sensitivity. Anyone ever, or can you admit that you have had times where you're like, things that shouldn't be dull are dull? I know I had a moment like this a couple of years ago. I visited someone in jail just after doing a funeral, just after getting a tough call and dealing with a few other things. And I was at the pump, and I couldn't remember my own zip code. You know how they ask you for your zip code? And I realized in that time, I am maxed out because another call came, and there was no empathy. I was like, sorry, fresh out of empathy. I don't even think I had enough empathy to feel bad about not having any empathy. Why? Dull. I was dull. Watch this. This is going to help you. So they lost their sensuality, or they've lost their sensitivity. They've given themselves over to sensuality so as to indulge in every kind of impurity with a continual lust for more. That's why, and you those of you who are my age, you remember Dare, right? We learned all about gateway drugs. At the time, it's like, that's hilarious. Whatever. No, why? Because those who have dealt in these realms know that it is a progression of losing sensitivity. Losing sensitivity. So you, however, did not come to know Christ in this way. Surely you heard of him and were taught in him in accordance with the truth that is in Jesus. You were taught with regard to your former way of life. You were taught with regard to your former way of life. Think about that. You were taught with regard to your former way of life. What that says to me is, you were taught remembering where you have come from. The way that you were taught was done that certain way because of what you came from. With regard to your former way of life, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put, what's that next word? On the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and true holiness. Because of where you came from, you're going to have to be good at taking off and putting on. Because of where you've come from and because of where you want to go, you're going to have to be good at taking off and putting on. Because if you just go through life giving no thought to what you're wearing, you're not going to understand the interchange between you and your clothing. Some of you see me at Home Depot and you're like, bro, pastor, man, come on. You have half the bucket of paint on you. Why? I expect more out of my pastor. I know that what I'm dressing like shapes what I act like. Married people, don't you love going to weddings and seeing your spouse all gussied up? Mandy does. She's like, you actually smell good. You always smell, but you smell good. And I'm like, thank you. If you're still with me, because you have come from something that is natural and easy to be selfish, to be self-seeking, because you've come from that, you're going to have to be good at taking things off and putting things on, because the thing that is on you is shaping you. So here's the point. Here's the point. I wrote it down so I get it right. Spiritual maturity is a growing comfort with your new self and a growing discomfort with your old self. Because when you came to Christ, you had a uniform of selfishness. And you were comfy in it, and you earned it. You did all the work it took to live and be a selfish person. And Jesus came and he saved you. And you said, Jesus, thank you for saving me. God, save me from my sin. Thank you for forgiving me. This is amazing. Jesus, I want to be baptized. And you get in front of the church and you're buried with Christ and you're raised again to new life. And as soon as you come out, you put on a new uniform. But that uniform feels like a costume at first. Your new uniform feels like a costume at first because everyone else who's wearing that uniform, you're like, man, they've been in the game longer than me. Oh, they seem more sensitive to God than me. They use different words than me. They know more of the Bible than me. They worship better than me. They've got it all going on. They came from a Christian family. And you walk around, and there is something to spiritual maturity to walking around and going, this feels like a costume, but this is my uniform. It feels like a costume, and this is my uniform. This feels like a costume, but this is my uniform. And there are situations and there are people who make you feel like your new uniform is just a costume. For me, it's my friends that I used to play music with in bars. I get around them and I just feel it. They're just like, oh, okay. Oh, you're a preacher boy now, huh? Oh, that's so cool, man. Do you remember? I'm like, nope, don't want to remember. Like, oh, this Christian thing, it looks so cute on you. But for real, like, tell me the truth. Do you have friends who make your uniform feel like a costume when you're in their presence? They roll their eyes. Oh, don't you put your holy hat on around me. We were roommates. And it takes some guts to stand flat-footed and say, hey, the person inside of these clothes is a different person. This is my uniform. And your very best friends, those that you should roll with into eternity, are your friends who see every time you swap, they go, nope, Brad, that's just a costume. You talking bad about so-and-so? Come on, man, that's just a costume. That's not who you are. Whenever you put on your old self, your believing friends go, nope. I remember when that used to fit, but it don't fit no more. That's just a costume. Your old way of life, your selfishness, you talking that way, you doing that stuff, that's just a costume. Church, will you please surround yourself with people who honor your new uniform and call you out whenever you put on your costume? Church, can we be a church that says, hey, listen, we have a whole box of uniforms in the back, and we are inviting more and more people to this team, and we are going to walk around, and I don't care what feeling you have in this new uniform. You are covered with the blood of Jesus and the forgiveness of Jesus, and you can't order Christian feelings from the internet, and there is no right way to feel about this. You are made new in Christ. Wear it tall, especially when it feels like a costume. You just throw your shoulders back and you go, you know who validates this? Jesus. You know who does all the hard work of making this badge matter? Jesus. Because here's what I want to tell you. The outfit of your old self is your sin. You put on your sin. It's what people see. It's what identifies you. You act a certain way because you put your sin on. What did Jesus come to deal with in your life? Your what? Your sin. Your new uniform is Christ's righteousness. See, the old life, it's like, listen, I am what I do. This is my sin. This is my accomplishments, which often translates to pride or boastfulness. And you walk around and I'm comfortable in it. Yes, I'm comfortable demanding my rights. Yes, I'm comfortable being enslaved to different things. Yes, I'm comfortable lying to people. Oh, I'm so comfortable. This is my uniform. I meet Jesus. I'm forgiven. I'm baptized. I get a new uniform. And I go, man, it feels kind of like a costume right now. But over and over again, I choose to not be defined by my actions of sin, but I choose to be defined by the righteousness of Christ. Your new robe is his righteousness, not your good actions. Your old life is about your actions. Your new life is about your identity. And here's the funny thing about it. I don't know exactly the interchange between my identity and my actions, but I know that they're tied. Because the more that I act this way, the more I identify in that way. Isn't it awesome that Christ starts with the business that he can do, where he goes, let's start with your identity. And he says, that's the work I've done. You're like, but I still love to say curse words. And he's like, cool. I'm not worried about your actions right now. I want to deal with your identity. And he says, put on the righteousness that I have. Because there is some interchange between who I am and what I want to wear. Is there stuff you used to wear that you don't want to wear anymore because it's not you? So if that is true, then the same thing is true, that whatever I put on kind of shapes how I'm acting. And so there's this beautiful interchange with Jesus where I take off that sin and I put on that righteousness. I take off those actions, I put on that identity. In my old life, I lived for sin. Now I live from righteousness. I live from righteousness. I go, oh, this used to feel like a costume. It's definitely feeling much more like it is a uniform. See, my old life, I used to pay allegiance. I used to pay allegiance to my own sin. I used to go, I can't not do that. I can't not think that. It has me. It has grasped me. When I choose to take off that and I put on the righteousness of Christ, all of a sudden I go, I am allegiant to the work that Jesus did, and I don't want to make it cheap. Therefore, I'm not going to do that because that makes it cheap. I have allegiance to the Christ inside of me. And I go, but I feel like, hopefully this is good news for some of you who go, man, there are moments when I have real doubts and I go, man, it feels like a costume. That probably means that Jesus is at work in you. Because if you never had any fear that your Christianity felt like a costume, then you don't have the conviction of the Holy Spirit working inside of you. So it's actually a great sign that the Holy Spirit is working inside of you, where he goes, oh, we're still matching up your outfit with who you are. Isn't that beautiful? And we're going to spend all eternity rolling around in the righteousness of Christ. I don't know how much fashion is going to be in the forever world, but it's all going to be bright. I don't know what you're going to wear, but it's going to be the brightness of the righteousness of Jesus that we're walking around in. And it's going to be a beautiful uniform that fits and works. This week, my uncle passed away, and I went to Denver, and I wore some nice pants. I had a coat on. I had a tie on. And my brother is a funeral director. My father was a funeral director for 40 years. I've been to a lot of funerals, right? And I've done a lot of funerals. Well, this is the first time that I was just a family member in a very long time. And so I'm with my brother Justin. He's a funeral director. And we get ready to go. He doesn't have a coat on. He doesn't have a tie on. He did tuck his shirt in, which is, I feel like, a step above. But I looked at him, I go, man, have the rules changed? He's like, what? I go, you're going without a tie. He's like, I got a whole suit thing going on here. He goes, I'm not doing this funeral. I'm just going to this funeral. And yeah, they've kind of changed. People can show up in whatever they want to wear now. And I'm just sitting there like, man, this thing is hot. And I'm over here. As soon as I open the door, my foot hits the ground there. I have this thought. They're going to ask me to preach this funeral. That was my thought. Surely not. But I just felt it in my gut. So everyone's gathered, family's there, and they're like, I'm seeing a Bluetooth speaker. And I just see them doing this. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. They go, anyone have any words? And I'm just like, please don't say me. Please don't say me. Please don't. And my aunt, my grieving aunt, I stacked the deck. My grieving aunt's like, I don't know. Does anyone have any words? I mean, I've lost the love of my life. I've traveled 2,000 miles to be here right now. Does anyone here right now have any words to honor this wonderful man? Jared, you're a pastor. I'm sure you got something. And I'm like, improv sermon. Here's why I tell you that story. What I've been and what I've given my life to, in a sense, the outfits I've been wearing, the things that I've been doing, prepared me for a moment when someone says, hey, in 30 seconds, can you conduct a funeral for us right now? Because when she said, hey, I acknowledge that you wear these clothes, here's what the truth is. I have been convinced by other people's words, by the last 20 years of my life, and by the word of the Spirit, that God uses me to say stuff to people that they need to hear right now. That's what's going on in the guy in the outfit. So when she said, hey, you wear that pastor outfit, what do you got? I knew in that moment that God uses me to talk to people. It's just what he just given me to do. That's who I am. It's a big part of my identity. And I stepped up and I picked a scripture and I picked a metaphor. Big surprise. There's all my preaching tricks right there. And we get done, or I get done, I sit down. The song I had no idea that they were going to sing uses the very metaphor I just used. We stand up, my cousin, who's always late, you got one too? Comes in, and he begins talking using the very metaphor that I just used. And my brother, he goes, dude, were you like here in the trees or something? How did you know what Jared talked about? He goes, no, I don't have any clue what you're talking about. And then after the funeral, my aunt comes and she goes, and she's in tears. She goes, listen, usually I just hug my Bible. But when Danny passed away that night, I told God, I said, God, I want to do more than hug it. I actually want to read this thing. And so direct me. And she opened her Bible the night that he passed away, and she read the very text that I read. So I guess my point is this. There are moments I don't feel like pastorly. There are moments I don't feel A-team Christianity. And then I remember, it's not about my actions. It's not about those things. It's about the righteousness of Christ that is draped upon me and is changing the identity of the person in it. And I want that for you. And I want that for all of us. That we are walking in a spiritual maturity where we're just ever so passionately walking towards going, man, you know, it used to feel so foreign to be generous. But I can't help but being generous anymore. It's starting to feel more like a uniform. Man, it used to be just such a struggle to not demean and not to manipulate and not to try and just worm my way into every situation. It's starting to feel more comfortable to just trust God to work out the details. This costume is becoming a uniform. And then what I hope happens is you become a no good sinner. And what I mean by that is sinning just ain't no fun anymore. Where you go, man, it used to pay off. It used to pay off to rage, and now, man, there's just no comfort in it. That old uniform is starting to feel more like a costume. Are you with me, church? May God do that in us. And here's what I want to tell you. Nothing you can do. The new outfit is nothing that you are doing. The new outfit is everything that he has done. And what he has done begins to change who you are. All right?